Hello, I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about something that I've been writing and working on, and it's kind of expanded a little bit. And I thought I would just kind of get on here and share what I've been diving into lately and talk a little bit about creation, being creators and creative beings, coherence, and just the human electrical system in our bodies and how that can enhance our feminine energy and masculine energy as well. And so I wanted to share this philosophy with you today, one that's both physical, um, practical, and deeply spiritual. It's about how we as human beings are always in creation. We're always creating, not sometimes, not only when we paint a picture or write a song. There's two different types of creations. There's the physical creation and the energetic one. And we're always creating every second. Every thought, every feeling, every word that you speak is shaping your reality. And most of us think of creation as just the physical aspect of it. When you sculpt with your hands, you sculpt clay with your hands, or you paint on a canvas, or you build something. That's physical creation. And that's beautiful too. That's more tangible. It's seen, we can see that what we're doing and appreciate the finished product almost instantly. But that's only one side of the story, and there's another side, a more subtle side, and that's the energetic side to it. Energetic creation, as I like to call it, that's happening all the time. Um, it's happening whether you're conscious of it or not. And because energy never sits still, it doesn't just disappear, it's constantly moving. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to manipulate and move energy. um, it's just constantly being broadcasted no matter what. And so your body is like a vortex. Everything that comes in goes out, and what's going out is that frequency that you're broadcasting. Think of it like the Wi-Fi symbol that we see, um, with the wave patterns. You're broadcasting 24/7, and what determines the quality of that signal is your thoughts, your feelings, and your inner state. And so here's the kicker with that: the you can actually strengthen that signal and fine tune that broadcast you by just elevating your frequency so that your signal is more coherent, clear, and powerful. And when you start shifting your frequency, your reality begins to change, because everything in your reality is reflecting back on that signal that you're broadcasting. So that's why when people say, change your frequency, change your reality, it's not just a metaphor, it's really the mechanics of how our bodies work. And so I wanted to kind of break it down for you a little bit. I hope this doesn't take too long here. I hate having to speed up my videos because I'm just like talking at top speed, but let's break it down a little bit here. So, like I was saying, physical creation is creating with our hands, painting, sculpting, cooking, building, writing a book, writing a song, using your body with your hands. And then the energetic creation is the more subtle one. And it's happening in your inner world, because your energy is never stagnant. It's always broadcasting. Your vibration is always sending out that signal, and that signal is shaped by your thoughts, your feelings, and your emotions. And it's constantly moving and morphing and changing shape, whether it's through stress, um, if you have anger, all these other feelings like stress, gratitude, fear, hatred, joy, happiness. All of that can bring your frequency levels up or down, just depending on where you're at. And, we experience the world on a daily basis. And so we're always being bombarded with things or items that will affect our frequency, either elevate it or bring it down. And so when I was going through all of this, I was thinking about how Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about our heart and mind coherence. When your brain and your heart are in alignment, you generate a powerful, clear signal in the field, and that's when your creation becomes magnetic. But here's where the light bulb really went off for me. I thought, well, that's only part of the piece. That's the heart and mind. That's two organs in the body. You also need body and soul coherence. If your body is stagnant, toxic, dehydrated, the soul cannot fully express itself. It's like trying to run electricity through a corroded wire. The signal scrambles, there isn't clarity, but when the vessel is hydrated and mineralized and clean, the spirit flows with power and clarity. And here's where the feminine energy comes into play, because as a woman living in a female body, when I elevate my frequency, I notice naturally that I step into my feminine energy, and it's magnetic. As females, we are receptive, we receive, we take in, and we're fluid and we're intuitive and we're creative. We're massive creators. So whatever's coming in as receivers, we are literally growing that into our world. And so it's not more about doing as a female, because that's more masculine energy. But it's more about being aligned and radiant and receptive. And when I'm coherent with body, soul, heart, and mind, I can soften that energy, and I can lean back and rest in my feminine energy and just allow myself to receive instead of being in that masculine energy so much. So that's when when I embody that feminine fully, and everything that I desire just starts moving forward in my life instead of me chasing, because that's masculine energy again. And so let's layer in the dynamics of that. When we live in coherence, we naturally integrate both the masculine and the feminine. And the masculine gives direction, structure, focus, momentum. It's the disciplined driver, hands steady at the wheel, eyes on the road kind of energy, protecting the journey, setting the pace and moving with clarity. Masculine energy is action and motion, protection, building. The feminine energy is magnetism, flow, right? Flow, movement, fluidity, curves. There's a beauty to the feminine energy too, because of that fluidity. She doesn't force, she attracts, and she brings in, she calls in. And we are powerful magnetic beings in that sense, in the feminine energy. We're intuitive, sensing like different rhythms and energies. We can pick up on that. That's why people always say, that women just know, because we are receiving, we're taking things in, and on the energetic level, that's what our body is sensing. So the feminine energy is just being and trusting and receiving all of that and creating beauty out of the raw material at our hands. And so when they're balanced like that, life just stops feeling so forced, and the masculine builds that container and the feminine fills it with life. And so that's coherence in its fullest form. And for me, living this way allows me to step fully in my feminine, not as like a weak vessel, but as powerful. My frequency stays clear, magnetic, nurturing, and creative. But I honor my masculine too, because it provides that direction and that structure for me and that stability, with sacred boundaries that protect the feminine flow. And so together they create wholeness within the human body. And so the best way that I've found to teach people how it works, I used to, years ago when I first got not really interested, but as when I was younger, my like teenage years, and really started having interest in caring for my body, I've always explained it to people to look at your body as a vehicle. The body is the vehicle. And I'll kind of break it down, with different analogies here. So the body equals the vehicle. There's the structure of the vehicle, the engine, the wiring, the fluids. And if the fluids are dirty and or the wiring is like corroded, it won't run efficiently. And that's why regenerative health matters with hydration and minerals in the actual physical body, because it's like keeping the oil clean and the wiring intact of your actual vehicle. And the driver of the vehicle is the soul and spirit. So the consciousness, the why behind the journey, the driver decides where the car goes. But if the vehicle is but only if the vehicle is functional. But if the vehicle isn't functional, then the driver's going to have issues, right? If the body breaks down, our body is our vehicle. The body breaks down, the soul can't express itself fully. But the opposite is true with that too. If the driver, if the spirit is not well fed and well nourished, not present, then even the best vehicle, the best body that you have, that soul, can't really do what it's designed to do, and it just sits parked. So the other aspect is the heart, which is the power generator in the body. So biologically, the heart produces the strongest electromagnetic field in the body of any organ in our body. It's like the strongest, and it's like the alternator in the car. And when I started piecing all these together, and I know nothing about cars really, I just, from early on, I viewed it in that way. I'm like, our cars are just kind of like our bodies. And so I had to kind of do some little research on, how these certain parts reflect certain parts in a car, just to make it more relatable, not only to me as well, because I've used that analogy for a long time, but, just for everyone else too. And so the heart, like I said, produces the strongest electromagnetic field. And it's like the alternator in the car. It's constantly charging and broadcasting energy. It's constantly generating that energy so that the car can go, so that the body can go. In coherence work like heart math, the heart is recognized as the main transmitter. And so when you have the brain and the heart in coherence, the brain is the antenna that processes and interprets and directs that signal. But if it's left unchecked, then it just scrambles the broadcast, and negative thoughts and loops, anxiety, stress chemicals start happening. And in coherence with the heart, though, it fine-tunes that frequency with clarity. And so when you have the heart and brain in coherence, you have that antenna is working now. You have that charge ready to broadcast. Your nervous system is like the wiring in a car, the electrical grid inside the vehicle. So it distributes the charge, it connects every part, and allows the driver, the soul in the body, to actually maneuver. The vagus nerve, for example, is like the main wiring harness between the heart and the brain. So our bodies are designed very similar to how a vehicle works, and I just find it fascinating. You hear people, and I say that our body is our vehicle in life, and so it's a great analogy that I like to use in helping others and teaching others about the body and how to view the body in that manner. Most of us take better care of our cars than we do our bodies, and which is why you see, around age 30, 35, 40, things start to wear down, and people just call it aging. And that's not the case. It's because you haven't had an oil change in 40 years. That's the problem. You haven't changed out your filter in 40 years. You haven't, put the right gas in it for 40 years, and things need to be cleaned out. You might need, to replace some parts. So, and then with the driver, which is the spirit of your vehicle, we often focus on keeping, just like I was saying, the vehicle healthy, but the spirit needs the same thing. So hydration, minerals, detoxification, the driver needs nourishment too. So the spirit is fed through prayer, meditation, that connection with God, service to others, silence, gratitude. How are you feeding your soul, your spirit on a daily basis? Taking in beauty, or creating beauty in your life and in your environment, being in nature, and whatever your spiritual practices are, being in the word or scripture or whatever that may look like for you, just feeding the soul on a daily basis. Just like the body needs the water, the minerals, the soul needs that time too with God, and inner reflection, so to speak, and feeding the soul. But without it, if you don't have that, and the driver gets weak or is distracted or even falls asleep at the wheel, both the vehicle and the driver really need care. If either one fails, your journey stops there. The car stays parked, and you can't really get anywhere. So it's super important, to take care of your vehicle in life, your body, and your soul. And if the vehicle is in good running order, and the driver's in good running order, the soul's in good running order, then you can really take that vehicle to a whole new place in life. Um, like, instead of like reaching for something like a stimulant, like, for instance, like I have had some nights where I've stayed up late writing, or just not getting enough sleep. And it's very easy to want to give in and reach out for stimulants, I, like coffee, or I don't drink energy drinks, but, that's like typically the norm. And instead of doing that, the way that I know that I have to recharge my body if I'm noticing that my charge or my voltage is low. And so that's why I reach for high energetic foods like watermelon. And that's what I've been like. I'm on day 14 of watermelon and Purium superfoods right now. And so that's what I had this morning was watermelon. I had a can't beat this to it, some dark berry protein, um, and Zevo Life as well for mineralization. So I just don't turn to low frequency stimulants to bring energy into my body, because they do the opposite. I look for those high electrical nourishments, charges that raise my charge and my voltage in my body. And this is why I love regenerative health, because it's when I realized that the body and soul coherence had to be there in order for the heart and mind coherence to even happen. And I thought Dr. Joe Dispenza is missing that aspect of it, because his work is just brilliant. And I've been following him for over 10 years now. And I just thought, oh, he's missing the other piece. You know, he's missing it. The heart and brain, that's great. That's part of the vehicle. But that's why I always use the vehicle analogy, of our bodies being the vehicle and the soul being the driver. You wouldn't pour sludge into your gas tank, or never change the oil, or um, never change your wiper blades, or your tires. I don't know. You wouldn't do that. You care for your car differently. And that's when I realized a long time ago that, before I even knew regenerative health, like that vehicle analogy really, like, it's now like really connecting the dots. And I just love it. And so together, when you have the heart and mind together, they're like an antenna. It's the alternator and the antenna. The brain's the antenna. So the heart is the alternator that's generating the power, and then the brain is the antenna. And when those are in line, you're ready to fire. And then the vehicle, the body, and then the soul, the driver, you have those two. You just have two powerful forces together. And then when they're aligned, your signal in the quantum field gets stronger, clearer, and just magnifies and magnetizes things to you. And so thanks to something called quantum entanglement, which Dr. Joe Dispenza speaks about as well, your frequency doesn't just stay in your own bubble, it ripples outward. And elevating your state of frequency changes the field around you and impacts other people as well. And so that's why you hear that when you're around other people, some people can drain you, or because they're absorbing your energy, or you absorb someone else's energy, someone's negative energy. And so our energy just impacts everything around us, because it's constantly broadcasting out of our body. We don't see it. Everything's moving like a vortex in our body, just literally like this inhale and exhale. Our body's doing this all the time. And that energy, whatever's coming into our field, we're breathing it out, or breathing that energy out all the time. And so when I live in this state, I'm deeper in my feminine energy, my feminine power, because it's magnetic, and it draws in, and it receives, and it nurtures. And then the masculine energy is about pushing and chasing and forcing. And so when I'm in coherence, I don't need to chase. I attract, I radiate, I glow, I allow. And that's the embodiment of the feminine energy. And it's the reward of being in coherence. And that's why I've been getting on here quite frequently and talking about how I feel so much more in alignment with being aware and being in connection with God, because my vessel's becoming cleaner and my soul is being fed, and that heart and brain coherence is beginning to align, and it's just a beautiful thing. So this brings me to the other aspect that I wanted to talk about is your thoughts and feelings create your reality. And so when that, and like I said, we're constantly creating, and whatever frequency is being emitted and broadcasted out is what you're going to see in your reality. And this is a great tool to use, especially when you are conscious of this happening, and that you are conscious and aware that everything that you see in your reality is a result of your thoughts and feelings from your past, from yesterday. So what you're seeing today is what you thought about yesterday, or 10 years ago. It's everything's being created. You're just absorbing it, you're thinking, and it's being pushed out. And so that's how you'll see it in action. And your environment is literally your feedback. Everything around you is showing you what you've already created. Your body is feedback. What you put into your body shows up on the outside. If you're putting junk food into your body, you're going to see your health decline. You're going to put on that weight. You're going to feel foggy and not have the energy. Your relationships, your opportunities, and even random prayers that have been answered that you didn't even share with anyone. All these random events, they're not coincidences. They're all a reflection of your broadcast, the station that you're broadcasting to the world. And if you don't like what you see, you need to change your frequency. If you don't, you have to really pay attention to what's on the outside, because sometimes we become victims in the whole thing too, and we just think life is happening to us, and it's not. Life's not happening to you. Bad things aren't happening to you. You literally are creating your reality. The things that are happening to you are because you have broadcasted them out into the world. And so if you want to change your reality, you need to change your signal. You need to raise that frequency. You need to clean the vessel. You need to feed the driver and align with that heart and mind coherence. All four, and both philosophies need to be together, which this is why I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to expound on my writing here, because I was just still thinking in terms of Dr. Joe Dispenza with heart and mind coherence only. And then when that just came to me, I'm like, okay, I have to, because that's the key there. If you don't have a clean vessel and you don't have all four together, the vessel needs to be, the body needs to be in tip-top shape. And it's like having a luxury car, and you have the ability to create that vehicle. You can change the outside of your vehicle. You can change your inner terrain of your vehicle just by doing the things that you need to do to feed it properly and fuel it properly. And the human body requires high electrical foods, and that's your fruits, raw fruits, herbs, and raw vegetables, and structured water. Like, it literally needs these things. And when I was thinking about all this, I'm like, oh my gosh, the human body is 99% water at the molecular level. And I just thought, spirit is the electrical force. So yes, we need the heart and mind coherence and alignment in our thoughts and feelings. That's fine, but that's the vehicle part. When the soul and the body, which is the electrical part, when the soul and the body, the electricity doesn't have the conduit to run through. And this is where my mind was just kind of like rolling. I'm like, oh my gosh, the body is the conduit for the spirit. The body literally has to be hydrated and mineralized for that electrical current to go through. Because if it's not, there's going to be that corrosion and that dryness and short circuit, and you won't be in connection with God. And it takes me back to some like Bible verses I grew up in the church, and I've been in church pretty much my whole life. And so I'm always like tying things together. I'm like, oh my goodness, um, there's when the Bible talks about how God doesn't hear the unbelievers' prayers, and it makes me think it's because of the body being stagnant. God can't work through a body that's dried up and doesn't have an electrical charge, doesn't have water, which water, we have to have water for electricity. That's a conduit for electricity. And it's just all making sense to me. I'm like, okay, I have to prepare this vessel. I have to keep this vessel in a high frequency state and flowing with, it needs to be hydrated and mineralized, and then the power of the spirit can move and flow through me and be at its optimal horsepower and speed, and I can do anything. And it's like, are you going to put your soul, if you have the opportunity to get into a clunker and go on a cross-country trip all paid for, that's not going to be very comfortable or fun, because you might break down and you might not make it very far. Or ride in luxury and ride at top speed in your own vehicle that you've been given to and born with, and transform the body and regenerate the body, because it is your vehicle to life. And once you have everything in running order and all the systems flowing with that body and that vehicle well hydrated and mineralized, then the power of the spirit, the electrical power of the spirit can really flow through. And then you can start seeing and making changes in your life, in your reality, which I think is just beautiful. You're able to create more, your prayers are heard, you are able to discern and get more clear on your intuition and those downloads, or those inputs that are coming to you, and things just start kind of flowing. And this all came about when I started writing about us being creators in our life, and not just in the tangible way, but in the energetic way, because most of us only stop at the physical, tangible creation portion of who we are, building, making things, and not realizing that regardless if you know it or not, you are creating. We are literally creative beings in that sense, because we are literally constantly creating, no matter what, whether you're conscious of it or you're unconscious of it. And so my call to you is to wake up, pay attention to your surroundings, pay attention to what's being broadcasted to you in your life, because that is your signal that you're broadcasting out there. And there is a way to clean up that signal and get better service, so to speak, the new cell phone service, or get better service, through cleansing the body and feeding the spirit, and having that mind and heart coherence, and that body and soul coherence.